Hey, welcome everybody. I'm Jason Mefford and I'm here with Brad Miller. And today we're going to talk about how to get your brain to slow down. Slow down.
Just like that.
Just like, yeah, and it's boom, just okay, everybody, bring up your hands, snap your finger, and it's done. Right? Is it that easy? Maybe it can be. I don't know. We're going to talk about that today. So
It's not for me. So if you can do that, that would be wonderful. And I would love to hear your secrets about how you do that. But
it's like we have that secret. Well, no, because I know when we were talking before, I think we try to talk about things that we're both dealing with or have dealt with or are going through currently, right? And some of the ways that we try to work through it. And Brad kind of brought this up as a topic, which I think is great, because I know for me personally, there's certain times when it's kind of easier for me to have the brain kind of slower and not have that monkey chatter going on. And then there's other times when it's not, right?
Mm-hmm.
When it's maybe a little bit more challenging to kind of work through that. And sure that everybody that's listening has the same thing, right? I mean, so Brad, maybe share what's going on. Let's talk about some different ways that we've both used to try to get through this. And I think an important thing is, to everything there is a time and a season. To just keep that in mind, everybody, because sometimes it's a little bit more challenging than others, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just another opportunity to practice whatever we might be going through. So,
so as I mentioned, before we start hit record, for the last month or so, my brain just been everywhere. It, and it, this is the kind of way it used to be when I was when I started practicing law. My brain would always be thinking about stuff. It would always be worrying about things. It would just always be constantly going a mile a minute. And it didn't ever want to slow down. Even I remember sometimes laying in bed and my mind just still kept on going and going through things. And I know from talking to other lawyers that I'm totally not alone with this, that there's a lot of us that feel very similarly, that kind of our brains just kind of get going and they just kind of like you hit the overdrive button and they just go. And so again, I started, when I started practicing, I'd been that way, but then around 2020, actually the spring of 2020, started to do more meditations and was able to actually slow things down a little bit better. To the point where I was able to, 3 times a day, I would stop and I would do a 10-15 minute meditation. And I had no problems doing that. And for the past 2-3 years, it's not been quite to that same point, but I still feel that I can sit there and I can say, all right, I'm going to take time and I'm going to sit here, I'm going to meditate for 10-15 minutes. I put on stuff, some music maybe, or a guided meditation, and I can sit there and kind of go to town on things, let my mind go and not feel like my mind is trying to pull me different directions. And that's kind of maybe a good description of kind of way I feel sometimes, is that my brain is just trying to pull in so many different directions at once on so many different things. And lately, however, I've had a really hard time being able to settle it down. First thing in the morning, before it really kind of gets going, I'm not too bad. But other than that, it's been challenging for me to sit and take 5 minutes even to sit and meditate, because my mind's like, well, what about this thing? And now what about this thing? And maybe we should be doing this thing. And how about we do this? And what about this? And it just kind of keeps pulling me in these different directions. And again, it's been about a month or so that I've kind of have been dealing with this. And it's been difficult for me when I've been trying to calm down, settle down, because it just won't shut up. It just keeps going.
Well, and again, I mean, we haven't, I'm just going to ask you questions, right? Like it's a friend too. But I mean, are all those things pulling you maybe like towards business related things? Like, is it all kind of business related, or is it all over the board?
Um, there definitely is business and the intersection of business and to how that impacts the rest of my life. I mean, kind of, as you own your own
Financial,
business.
like financially, and
Right.
taking care of your family and paying
Right.
your
I mean, yeah. I
bills and all
mean,
that stuff. Yeah.
yeah, as a business owner, you know that, everything kind of intertwined. Like when you
Yep.
own a business, you can't say from this time to this time I am working on my, on the business stuff, and now clock hits 5 o'clock or whatever like that. Business is totally on my head, and now it's all other personal stuff. It doesn't work that way. Like it's always kind of interconnected, and so yeah, a lot of that kind of stuff right now is kind of at the forefront as I kind of feel pulled. Again, that's kind of the word I come back to, is being pulled in kind of different directions and not sure which kind of road down to start taking.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, as far as like directional change or things like that, maybe as you're trying to reassess your business sort of thing.
yeah.
No, I feel it too. No, I feel it too. Yeah, and I know for me, it's I mean, some of the stuff that we've talked about uh before on the podcast, right? But I'll just kind of explain a little what I've been going through and what I try to do, right, as well when the brain starts going crazy. Because I'm in that same situation, right? I mean, there's been some pretty substantial changes in my life the last year or so, especially the last few months. And so part of me is, what do I do now? Do I change direction on my businesses? Do I start something new? Do I get rid of some of these things? And I don't know the answer right now, but I'll know when I know, right? I mean, eventually the answers are going to come. And if I'm still and I listen to and pick up on and am aware uh of the things as they come along, I'm going to figure it out, right? Because I've always figured everything else out. But I get you, right? Because, especially the last couple of months, I mean, I just moved. There's a lot of 3D shit to get done and moving, right?
Yep.
You know,
Did it last
packing,
summer. Yep.
packing up, canceling utilities, the physical moving, renting and loading trailers and moving hundreds of miles away and unloading and putting stuff away. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to do, right? Where my brain has been kind of focused on a lot of those areas, right? And
Mm.
so I haven't spent as much time in like sitting meditation, if you will, right?
Mhm.
Because I got a lot of shit I got to get done, right? But that just happens to be the phase that I'm in right now, right? But what I have been doing is anytime that there starts to be something creeping in, I try to move my attention,
Mhm.
right? So, same thing. It's like I haven't done as much work, quote unquote, the
Mhm.
last month or two because I've been doing a lot of personal stuff, right? And so there can be a time when, the monkey brain wants to jump in and say, Jason, how are you going to pay your bills next month? And when it says that, then I say, I quiet it down and I just try to switch and hold my attention for at least 15 or 30 seconds, even just that much, of saying things like, I'm grateful that money flows easily to me. I'm grateful that I always have that I'm always abundant. I always have money to pay my bills. I'm grateful that I live in a beautiful place. I'm grateful for whatever, right? And just try to sit there and hold that feeling of gratitude for 15 to 30 seconds at least. And typically what'll happen when I do that is I'll get what I call like these little spiritual hits. For me, it's kind of like uh, almost like an electric shiver goes through my body. I don't know how to describe it other than that kind of, but when I will sit and just hold my attention and and feel grateful for even that short a period of time, I'll feel that come through, and I know that something has happened, right? And usually at that point, then my mind doesn't jump back to exactly where it is. It's like everything always has been, is now, and always will be okay, right? I don't have to worry about the stuff in the future. All I have to do is be grateful right now. And so that's one thing that I've been doing and using the last few weeks for myself, even in short times, right? Because I know when there's a lot of stuff that we've got to get done, a lot of times they're like, man, I don't have a half an hour to sit and meditate. Well, what if you don't have to meditate for a whole half hour? What if 15, 30 seconds a minute, right? Even doing it just that much is going to make some difference, right? I heard that the same thing like with grounding, because you and I are both into nature and grounding and all that stuff. And I remember, listening to somebody and they're like, well, how long should you ground for? And the person's like, it doesn't matter. Even 5 seconds of grounding is better than not, right? And so any little thing kind of helps. At least that's what's been helping and working for me during this time until I kind of reset my schedule more to not having to do a bunch of personal stuff and work and all the other stuff, right? And again, I think that's normal. That's just part of life. There's going to be times when we can do more, times when we maybe could do less, but just placing even a little bit of awareness and intention makes a lot bigger difference than we realize.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's something that I tell myself whenever my brain starts going to those kind of lower frequency sort of thoughts. I always come back to the idea of, what, everything always has been, is now, and will always be okay. Like things will work themselves out. You're not, what's the worst thing that happens? You die, and guess what? Then you don't really care what happens after that, right? I mean, because you're dead.
Exactly.
So
all the other stuff you were worrying about doesn't really matter.
Exactly. And so that usually helps me at least get out of those kind of thoughts. But even then, sometimes I feel my head then is focusing on other things, like, well, then we should be doing this, or what about this happening? And so, and I know it's part of it is just allowing it to happen. Like you said, the idea that there are seasons to some of these things, that there are times, and we kind of talked about before them, maybe it's something that's, kind of energetically out there going on right now that's kind of impacting things and causing the brain to go, kind of crazy. And maybe that's just what time it is right now. And so I get, one of my lessons right now is probably just to allow to kind of, take things easy, allow those thoughts, allow the brain to do what it needs to do. But at the end of the day, you know what? Everything's going to be fine. Like one way or the other, something.
Yeah. And like you said, I think there's a lot of times there's things that are bigger than us going on, solar flares, other different things that happen to be going on that does affect us energetically and through that even physically sometimes, right? Like today's a little bit harder day for me, right? I mean, I've been kind of foggy and tired the whole day, but I'm here and I'm using my will to push through what I need to do right now, and then I'm going to go take it easy, right? I mean, this week it was like, I mean, it was 4 o'clock a couple days ago and I just got hit. I mean, my eyes were shutting and it was like, man, I need to take a nap. But first thought is, well, no, it's 4 o'clock. You can't take a nap at 4 o'clock, right? That's too late to take a nap. But I just laid down and I took a nap for about an hour, right? And it's kind of having the flexibility and not being so rigid in our routines or in what we're telling ourselves is okay or not okay, and just going with what we feel like needs to happen, right?
Yeah.
And I think another thing too, because our brain, our tonal wants to protect us, right? And so that's why a lot of times your subconscious will kind of come in and say, oh, Brad, what about this? You haven't dealt with this yet, right?
Mhm.
And it does it to me. And so one of the things that I've started saying to myself is, thank you for reminding me about that. I will deal with that later. Right. Almost like
Mhm.
pretending like there's a little kid or somebody that comes up and they're like, oh, Jason, you have to remember to do this. Thank you. I understand. I know that. I will deal with that later. Right.
Mhm.
So you've done your job of reminding me. Now shut up and get
Right.
away. Yeah, and get away.
Yeah.
Right. And it comes back again. It's like, I heard you before. I'll deal with that later. Right. And sometimes it takes a few times for that to happen. But then we kind of move on. Right. And I've been having the same thing, like um when I go to bed, right? Usually I would fall asleep very quickly within like a minute. And some of the things I'm doing, I'm kind of like amped up energetically, but bone tired at the same time. It's like this weird dichotomy.
Mhm.
And so when I lay down to bed now, right, I'm having more of those thoughts kind of come in. And so I just have to be more diligent about kind of the mantras and saying to myself, things like, I abandon myself to my rest, right? I fall asleep quickly. I am deeper relaxed, right? My brain is clear. Things like that to try to help settle me down a little bit more. That, like I said, 2 weeks, 4 weeks ago wasn't even an issue, right? But for this little time, I'm having to be a little bit more vigilant
Mhm.
in doing that. Now, I also know it's not going to be this way forever, right? I'm going to have
Hopefully
to
not.
do
Yeah.
this. No, no, no. It's not going to be that. It's not
Yeah.
going to be that way, right?
Right. Yeah.
But for whatever reason, for a few weeks, a few months, whatever it is, and then it's going to go back to the way it was before, right? And I'm not going to be this way the rest of my life. It's the same thing. Like when I wake up in the morning and I feel like I got hit by a truck, it's like I could sit there and go, oh man, I feel so shitty. Oh my gosh, blah, blah, blah. No, because I know, right? Because I've done this enough that within an hour or two of me waking up, all these little aches and pains and other little things that I might have felt because of whatever I was doing in dream time go away. It goes away as I reintegrate because it happens every day, right? So at first, when my brain's like, "Oh my gosh, Jason, you feel like shit today. You should go back to bed." No, it's okay, right? Everything's okay. I'm going to go about my day. I'm going to move my attention, and eventually these things go away, and it does every
Mhm.
single day. Right?
Yep. Yeah. Well, and you mentioned dream time, and actually, the last probably 2 weeks, I've been having a lot more vivid dreams. Particularly early. Well, I guess kind of morning like dreams, like wake up, kind of fall back asleep.
Yep.
It's still dark out, and then having more kind of vivid dreams where you know I know there's messages and things like that. Something's going on in there. I'm remembering them. They're pretty vivid dreams. They're not. They're fairly straightforward. So they're not like 17 things going on at once. It's kind of just one
It's
little
not
thing.
like you're all encrypted. Like I have no idea what that means. It's like,
It's something. Yeah, it's a lot more kind of straightforward. This is what we're supposed to be focusing on. Like I'm not trying to look at 17 things and what's the most important thing going on here. It's kind of like, well, this is the one thing. So
mhm.
Um, so yeah, so I'm sure all these things are related because like after all, everything is. So
Well, and I think too, and this is maybe something for people to understand that I'm starting to learn more is the more you're feeling the energy, like the more kind of amped up you get in some ways, right? Um, So what I mean is, it's like, it's probably not a surprise that you feel like you're kind of on overdrive a little bit, because you're receiving more energy like through green time and other things like that. And it's going to carry over into part of your day, right? I mean, it's like, that's what I was talking about, where it's like I'm feeling a little bit more amped up, like I've got more energy, but my brain is foggy, and I don't really want to do anything. But it's not like I'm physically tired, but it's like, it's this
Mhm.
weird kind of thing. And again, I mean, maybe that's too why I've been having more of these thoughts coming in at the same point, because I'm sensing, or it's like coming in quicker and quicker and
Mhm.
quicker. And so I just have to do a better job of trying to slow the things down as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, no, I think this is a really, yeah, I'm sure that those who are listening are, maybe feeling a lot of the same stuff. But on the other hand, are also just the fact that, like you said, as professionals, kind of in the careers we are in, it's very intellectual based. So, we get paid for our thoughts essentially. Like our thinking is what we're not, it's not because we're building things with our hands. We're not making things like that. We are putting out thoughts. We're doing work mentally. And so, I think our brains tend to be a little bit more active because of that anyway. And so, yeah, just that fact, I think, makes this a very valuable conversation um, to have, as
Well,
far as thinking ways you can.
yeah, and I think too, right? I mean, it's like, because of the way we're trained, our first reaction is, well, if there's a problem, I got to fix it. And
Yep.
how am I going to fix it? I'm going to think my way through it. Right. And
Hmm.
again, it's like, well, what if there is no problem? And what if there is nothing really to fix? It's like that when I like this morning, I woke up, I had a headache, I had pain in between my shoulder blades, my neck was hurting again. And it's like, it was nothing in the way that I slept. I was in the same bed, the same pillow. I didn't do any, strenuous physical activity yesterday that would have caused any of that. And so, yeah, my analytical brain, the way I'm trained professionally, is I would have gotten up and it's like, oh my gosh, why does my head hurt? What can I do? Right. And I'd start going down all these different things of trying to figure out how to fix it, instead of just allowing myself the hour or two of time in the morning that my body would regulate and just take care of itself. Right. And there was nothing that I had to do. Right. It's like the whole idea of, if you get a cut on your finger, right? It's like, okay, I cut my finger. Well, I probably should put a band-aid on it and maybe put some ointment or something on it. And then I'm just going to put it on, and I'm not going to think about it, because my body knows how to deal with it. I don't have to sit there and go, come on, finger, heal, heal. Oh my gosh, come on, finger, heal. Oh man, my finger hurts so much. Oh, right. I mean, we wouldn't do that,
Hmm.
but we do that in so many other areas of our life, instead of just doing the little thing we need to do, place some awareness on it, maybe an intention, put a little, balm on it and put the band-aid on it, and go about your business, and let your body take care of what it needs to take care of. Because a lot of times there is nothing to do.
Hmm. Yeah. You mentioned pain yesterday, right after lunchtime. I got a shooting pain up my neck that lasted about 20 minutes.
Mhm. And it probably had nothing to do with anything you had done
Yeah.
physically. It was all energetic, and it went away, right?
Hmm.
It went away after a few minutes. And I think that's important for people to know. On the spiritual path, those things happen. Those things will happen more. I feel little things in my body all the
Hmm.
time. And it's not a bug crawling on me. But I feel sometimes like a bug is crawling on me, but there's nothing there.
Hmm.
It's just part of the process, right? It's just part of the process. There's nothing wrong. It's just part of the process. But realize that those things probably are going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, people talk about and joke about the ascension flu, and sometimes different physical symptoms that we end up feeling as we're going through this, and we're integrating different energies in our body. And that's just part of the process. It's okay. It goes away. The headaches go away. The nausea goes away. The feeling like a bug's crawling on you goes away. The shooting pain up your neck, it goes away. Right? Just be patient. Just move your attention. It goes away when it gets integrated.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I feel more awareness of different specific parts of my body now than I did before. And again, it feels like something's going on there. Is that an ache? Is it what is it? And then I kind of put my attention on it, and then I'm like, and now it's gone, and that was it.
Mhm. Yep.
You know, and that's happened more
It's
in
a
the
part
last.
of the process.
Yeah, no, happened more lately. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
But
Exactly.
I think it's important for people to understand that, so they don't think something is wrong, right? Because the first time that
Hmm.
some of these things might happen to you, it's very easy to go, oh my God, I need to go to the doctor. And what the hell is wrong with me? Well, there's probably nothing wrong with you,
Hmm.
right? I had this, it was a few weeks ago. I guess it's been almost a month now. I was walking along, right? And the terrain was a little bumpy, but it wasn't like crazy. And I put my foot down, and my leg wobbled a little bit, but it wasn't like enough for like a really trauma kind of thing to happen. But this pain just shot in my knee, like I had severely twisted my knee, right? But I knew I hadn't done anything trauma wise to my knee to justify that pain. And so I knew it wasn't something I needed to go to the doctor about. There was something energetically going on. And for a week or two, I could feel my knee. And it hurt, right? Sometimes it really hurt. And then it went away. And then it came back for a little bit. And now it's gone away again, right? And so it's like, there's two ways that you can approach that. Every time your knee hurt, every time my knee hurt, I could sit there and say, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. This sucks. It's so
Hmm.
bad,
Woe
blah,
is me.
blah,
Yeah.
blah. Woe is me. Or I could say, thank you, knee, right? I feel you. I love you. I'm so grateful for the miles that I have walked with you. I'm grateful for whatever is going on energetically with me. I'm grateful that it is transmuted and that I've integrated it properly, right? There's two different camps you can come from, right? Because sometimes these little pains, it's an opportunity for us to place awareness in the right way, right? Placing awareness of gratitude, of love is a good thing. And so if those little aches and pains allow us the opportunity to place more awareness in that way, that's a good thing. It's for our involvement. If instead we choose to place awareness on woe is me, well, you know what's going to happen, right? And so anyway, that's how I have started looking at it. And like I said, those are real life examples for me this last month.
Yeah. Yeah. Now somehow we went from like overworking thinking mind to it's okay to feel pains because energetic. I'm not really sure how that leap happened, but that's the fun, I guess, when you go down the rabbit hole and just kind of go with wherever it takes you.
Well, but I think too it does line in, right? Because that example of my knee, I could have allowed the monkey mind to take over.
Mhm.
Woe was me. Oh my gosh, I need to go to the doctor. I need to go ISID. I need to right? Over and over and over and over and over. And instead, I use the same kind of technique that we were talking about from slowing your brain down. of saying, oh, Nee, I feel you, I love you, I'm so grateful for you, right? It's the same kind of technique or practice that I'm using to slow down that monkey chatter and again get back to feeling that love and gratitude instead of, oh my God, my knee hurts.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, we do go all over the place.
But it all ties together.
It all ties together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all part of that. So,
Mhm.
well, I don't know if you have anything else that you want to talk about on this. Like you said, we kind of jumped from one thing to another on what seemed to be a tenuous path, but obviously are actually related. Um,
Yeah, and I think, I mean, again, just kind of recap a little bit, it's these things happen. There's seasons and times in our life. Sometimes it's more challenging than others. But maybe again, just switch the word challenge for opportunity, right?
mhm,
Because when maybe it's harder for us to quiet the monkey chatter, it's an opportunity for us to strengthen that muscle, if you will. If you feel little aches and pains in your body, instead of again letting the monkey mind take over like something is wrong with me, think of it as an opportunity again for you to integrate that, use that as an opportunity to be in a higher space instead of feeling woe is me and worrying about what could be.
yeah. Love it. Love it.
Good stuff. Good
Good
stuff.
stuff. Very much so. So, all right. Well, thank you guys for listening. Appreciate it. Hopefully you found some benefit out of this. Hopefully, if you're noticing that your brain's going crazy or you're feeling these aches and pains randomly pop up, that this gives you a little bit of maybe insight into what you can do to kind of get past that. And
Yep.
sure.
And have a great week, everybody. We'll see you on the next episode.
Catch
Thank
you then.
you.